actually, I haven't even been over here. I just did from the bureau. And
All right, go. Y'all gotta pay for this.
oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I know. Still active. I think it was a freak. What I'm hearing is, I don't know.
Jeff Slauson here from 19 News Now at the 19 News Digital Desk. We are cutting in here with some breaking news of reports of an active shooter at a Senate building in Washington, D.C. You're going to have to work with me here. You know, we're very much so working this active scene, but what I want to show you right now is a live look, at least on the ground, in our nation's capital. Again, reports of an active shooter. They came in at about, let's say, 2:45 around then. I'll show you this update that came from the U.S. Capitol Police's official account. They say our officers are searching in and around the Senate office buildings in response to a concerning 911 call. Please stay away from the area as we are still investigating. We continue to communicate with the public here. They continue in this thread there to say if you were inside the Senate buildings, everyone inside should be sheltering in place as the report was for a possible active shooter. It should be noted that we do not have any confirmed reports of gunshots. If you are in the area, follow the directions of our officers, and then they proceed to talk about a media staging area and how the United States Capitol Police is still continuing to investigate and to consider shelter in place. I do think it is important at this time to remind people that yesterday the former president was indicted on 4 charges related to the January 6th insurrection on the United States Capitol, that leading to the former president going to be in D.C. tomorrow to be booked for that indictment. We are now looking and showing you live right now. This is the media staging area at 1st and Constitution Avenue Northwest. That is where a public information officer for the U.S. Capitol Police will be providing an update as soon as possible. We saw them step up to the podium a little bit ago just to kind of briefly talk about potentially what we could learn, but we haven't heard an update since that point. Now, I've been seeing and looking at some reports from people from that possible active shooter that show at least action in and around the area, but there has, again, been nothing confirmed as far as any gunshots actually being fired. So let's just listen in real quick, see if there's any updates to come. So again, this update taking place at 1st and Constitution Avenue in the District of Columbia following the reports of an active shooter at a Senate building. According to the U.S. Capitol Police, this was, let's see here, in and around the Senate office buildings. I'm unsure kind of exactly where those are in comparison, if those are different than the main Senate buildings. You know, everything's connected through tunnels underneath, so you can take a train between the Senate building and where the House is, and you know, basically go back and forth throughout the entirety of the Capitol. But I'm unsure exactly where those Senate office buildings are. I'm trying to figure that out exactly. But there is currently a search for the unconfirmed reports of an active shooter, so that search is still underway. Senate office building. Okay, so that seems to be kind of across the street from the actual Capitol building. So I'm just taking a look here. Yeah, that's got to be it. Okay. Okay, I'm going to pull this up for everybody. We're going to keep you live as we wait for that meeting to take place. But what I'm going to do is show you from the ground where this call came in for. So that's this spot right here. So this is the Senate office buildings. Okay, so everybody's familiar with, everybody understands, everybody knows how this works as far as the actual Senate itself, right? The regular Capitol building, you can see the top of it right here. There we go, right here. Okay, so that's the top of the Capitol building, okay? This is where those calls came from about a possible active shooter. Where they are meeting right now is First and Constitution Ave, which is right around this area, which is basically there. I'm going to try and match this up actually with where I see them, and I think they're actually, yeah, okay, so it basically seems like they are on this side right here, because you can see right there, and that's Constitution Park on the left-hand side. So essentially, they're right where this call came from. So typically, when you see something like that, that means that it's somewhat, can mean that it is somewhat under control. But again, we will be waiting for that update from Capitol Police. Again, anticipating a public information officer for Capitol Police to be speaking on this. We don't have many updates as of right now. I haven't been sent any either, so I think that shows that we haven't received too many. But all we do know is that there were reports of a possible active shooter at the Senate office buildings. Those are, again, kind of across the street from where the traditional Senate building is. Reports of an active shooter, possible active shooter. There were no calls, though, that there was, or no confirmed shots fired from this. And in addition to that, we have no new news or no news on potentially what could have happened, potentially what the threat could look like, you know, things like that. So there was a shelter in place called following what is being deemed as a concerned 911 call. You see on the left-hand side there, that is Scott McFarland, the CBS political analyst that we work with quite heavily regarding a lot of these stories. He seems to be on the ground there to try and get some more information on this. This was placed near the Senate office buildings. That's near the U.S. Capitol building. There's where the reports. The security response is prompted by what they say was a concerning 911 call regarding a possible active shooter. This happening just before 3 o'clock. No confirmed reports of weapons, no confirmed reports of gunshots as of right now. This is at the Russell Senate office building. Officers evacuated the hallways. They shouted at people to run outside and run away from the building. Outside there were tourists who were watching dozens of police cars whipping in and out of the area. There was staff inside, journalists inside working in the building. An email was sent out, basically an email blast was sent out to all of them saying that they need to take shelter in place in a locked room, remain quiet, and silence every electronic that they have. The House and the Senate are in recess, so those buildings, while are not empty, there's less people in there. Because there's just less lawmakers in D.C. at the moment. So for this time of year, there are less people around. So majority of the people that are in these buildings are going to be members of the press and just general staff, not necessarily lawmakers. So again, where they are situated right now is, it seems to be just near where the calls came in. Yeah, I think it is. See if I can locate. There might be a street down. So they seem to be very close to the area where this is been called, or at least where the calls came from. So this is located at First and Constitution Avenue. Is where the press conference is going to be held. Yeah, that's very close to where the calls came out for this. I'm going to try and go out a little bit in this here. So let me show on this map. I know it's kind of confusing here, but so this is the U.S. Capitol building right here. Okay, so you can see this area right here. This is the U.S. Capitol building. Okay. Up here is the Russell Senate office building. This is where the calls came from. So this is where U.S. senators have their main offices, in this building right here. Then the calls came from basically right here in this building, somewhere in this building. But this is where they're having this press conference, and that's where you were seeing right now live. So that would imply that they at least seem to have something under control here. Again, there were no confirmed reports of gunshots or of some sort of weapon that was being held, but there was a concerning 911 call. Again, that is a quote, concerning 911 call, that there was the possibility for potentially an active shooter in some area, in some aspect here. So again, we're going to leave this up here for a bit, trying to get more information on potentially what we could know as of right now, but really nothing else. We know, you know what I know right now. I'm going to repeat that breaking news that we have here. Authorities called for a shelter in place and began searching the Senate office buildings. This is on First and Constitution, just right across from basically the Capitol building. There's some people in suits showing up. Maybe these could be... Nope, not yet. This happened after reports of an active shooter. The U.S. Capitol announcing that the security response was prompted by what they called concerning 911 calls. I want to show you the updates that U.S. Capitol Police were providing on social media here. They had started this by saying our officers are searching in and around the Senate office buildings in response to a concerning 911 call. Please stay away from the area as we are still investigating. We will continue to communicate with the public here. They continue on by saying if you are inside the Senate buildings, everyone inside should be sheltering in place, as the report was for a possible active shooter. It should be noted that we do not have any confirmed reports of gunshots. If you are in the area, follow the directions of our officers. The media staging area is located where you are currently, or where you have been seen. That is First and Constitution. As we see more and more members of the media starting to show up here, it does not seem like they're going to be starting this press conference for at least a few minutes as they let more members of the media get there. We saw them basically when the shot first came up, when the live picture first came up. They were asking how many members of the media there are there. It seems to be waiting to see potentially who could be arriving later, what more they could learn. Let me see here. So I'm now getting a look at the email that was sent out. You may remember I mentioned this earlier. An email was sent out to all staff members, all media that could potentially be in that area. This is what that update said. All Senate buildings, update, police activity related to the report of an internal security threat is ongoing. Occupants should continue to move inside your office to the nearest office. Take emergency equipment and visitors. Close, lock, and stay away from external doors and windows. If you are in a public space, find a place to hide or seek cover. Remain quiet and silence electronics. No one will be permitted to enter or exit the building until directed by the United States Capitol Police. If you're in a building outside of the affected area, you will remain clear of the police activity. And then lastly, await for further instructions. I do want to reiterate here, this comes just a day following the indictment of former President Donald Trump for 4 counts related to the January 6th insurrection and what they say is his responsibility and what he did to aid in that. That is now the 3rd time he's been indicted. Now, why is that relevant to this situation? Well, the former president is going to be in D.C. tomorrow, so there's an increased presence there over the next couple of days. This is what we've seen every time the former president has been indicted. What you are seeing is a live picture from Washington, D.C. as we await the next update, potentially from Capitol Police. We're going to try and get some more updates here. I'm going to leave this for just a quick second to see if there's anything else I might be able to find in the meantime.
Inside, and I just saw this. I said we had to bring this to you just so you can see what's happening inside. I know that this is being sent back, so if you guys are eventually get a better quality of this, just to show you what it looked like inside.
I also have a stool.
Okay, now I got it.
I can. Oh, you were gonna. Oh, okay, all right.
I didn't think, of course, I didn't think to give it to you. Sorry about that.
Hey, sure, we got,
All right, so we continue to wait for more updates on the potential active shooter situation and active shooter threat in Washington, D.C. I'm just keeping an eye on social media here and watching videos of people being escorted out of the building, people being led out of the building.
Sorry, let me just step behind you. Thank you.
I would be pretty surprised right now if this was still very active because of the nature of they're letting these people go very close to the building. Where they're situated right now is less than a block away from where the call originated. And again, this comes at a time when the House and the Senate are out of session right now, so that means that your senators and your congressmen and women aren't there. They're home, mostly. I mean, they could be there, but they're pretty sure that they're mostly home. So the only people that would physically be in the building, it's going to be staff, and that's going to be news people. That's going to be reporters, people like that. Other than that, there's not really going to be that much of or that large of a presence.
How long?
Next 15 minutes.
Okay, I'm standing up.
So that means
This is supposed to happen in the next 15 minutes.
This is supposed to happen.
They said they have no confirmation of an active shooter. They've mentioned the spokesperson.
Well, if you're moving too loud, you're going to get the cameras. Where is she? And she's going to shoot it? Did they just
Hey Philip, this is Holmes again from just a heads up, Chief, United States Capitol Police Chief statement 15 minutes, so we should have time to set up.
Appreciate everybody's patience here. Again, we thank you all for joining and watching our coverage as we await the next updates to come from the potential active shooter situation and threat that took place at the U.S. Capitol. Calls coming in about 45 minutes ago, potentially an hour ago, from the Russell Senate office building. This is across from the United States Capitol in a separate building than what you would traditionally think of as the U.S. Capitol building. A couple of things to note here. Where the press conference is taking place is at First and Columbus, which is essentially the cross-section where the call came in for the Russell Senate office building. So that would imply that potentially this situation is coming to a close. In addition to that, the House and the Senate are out of session, so the halls of these buildings, whether it be at the Senate office building, the actual Capitol itself, places like that, are not nearly as full as they would be during a normal year and during a point and at a time when the House and the Senate are in session. So the only people that are typically in there are reporters and staff members, things like that. Regardless, those that were there did receive an email which said all Senate buildings update. Police activity related to the report of an internal security threat is ongoing. Occupants should continue to move inside your office to the nearest office. Take emergency equipment and visitors. Close, lock, and stay away from external doors and windows. If you are in a public space, find a place to hide or seek cover. Remain quiet and silence electronics. No one will be permitted to enter or exit the building until directed by the United States Capitol Police. And then lastly, if you are in a building outside, remain clear of the police activity and await further instructions. Now, where we're looking right now, this is essentially right outside of the building where the alert was called to. We are waiting for an official update from the United States Capitol Police. The only updates that we've gotten as of right now are courtesy of what they said on social media. And I'm going to refresh this really quickly, see if there's any more updates that they've given. There is, okay. All right, so let's just roll through what they had said on social media here.
Just letting you know if I'm in your shot right now.
So this came at 2:45. So yeah, we're about an hour into this here. So 2:45. Our officers are searching in and around the Senate office buildings in response to a concerning 911 call. Please stay away from the area as we still are investigating. We will continue to communicate with the public here. They go on to say that if you are inside of the Senate buildings, everyone inside should be sheltering in place. As the report was for a possible active shooter, it would be noted that we do not have any confirmed reports of gunshots. Moving on, if you are in the area, follow the directions of our officers. They then explain that a new media staging area is taking place at 1st and Constitution Ave. That is right here. And that the United States Capitol Police will be giving an update as they continue to investigate. Then, 13 minutes following that, the United States Capitol Police is still investigating. Please continue to shelter in place. And then as of 3:43, they said again, the United States Capitol Police is still continuing to investigate. Please continue to shelter in place. So that investigation is still active, is still ongoing. Let me see here. Yeah, this should be Julian 1. Is that DC still? That is cool. So then, yeah, that's also a live look right now from DC at the active situation that we've been seeing. As you can see there, they got the tent set up. They've got different cars, things like that, all put together in a general meeting area. So very clearly an active scene still, as you're seeing some cars now that looks like a black SUV leaving the area. So maybe some people are starting to leave here. But we still wait in the media staging area, which is northwest. So that would be this corner here. Yep, okay. Yes, that's exactly where I said it was, basically. So right here, it's really hard to see on this map. Yeah, so see where I'm highlighting? So this is the building, okay? They're positioned here, and they're looking toward 1st, so basically toward this area. Because as you zoom out, that's the Capitol building. So that's the Capitol building right here. And then the Russell Senate office building right here, that is where they are currently staged. And they are facing toward the Capitol. That's where the call came from. The Russell Senate office building is where the call came from for, again, the potential of an active shooter. No confirmed active shooter as of yet. No confirmation as to any sort of weapons that are being used. But we will still await for an official update to come from police. And this coming for courtesy of the United States Capitol Police. Again, well, yeah, there's always attention on DC. This potentially active shooter, comes just a day following the announcement that there would be another indictment against former President Trump. And in fact, that indictment would be read and the charges would be read in court tomorrow in Washington, D.C. at 4 p.m. You can't say that they're connected at all, but you can at least bring up the fact that this comes after that point. This is now the 3rd time that the former president has received an indictment in some facet, and every time he has been in court to have that read out and to say not guilty, and every time that he's done that, there has been a frenzy. I mean, it's been an increased presence to the max for police, for people, for everybody that are lining the streets, essentially. There's supporters, there's people that are against him, there's police. I mean, it's just everywhere. So it's an increased attention, I think, is the safest way to say it. And yeah, this comes a day after we saw that happening. So again, we have multiple live looks right now at what's currently going on in Washington, D.C. Here's another live look. This seems to be more towards and down Constitution. So Constitution Ave lines the United States Capitol. So I'll show you that on a map here. You see that yellow street there? That's Constitution Ave. That runs laterally to the United States Constitution. That runs west to east. That's where it seems to be that this area is. And then this one right here is Constitution and 1st, kind of facing away from where the Capitol building is. As you see more and more news media showing up, it seems that the police are going to wait for that to clear up before they provide us anything else. I'm trying to see if they're going to at least give us a time on when this update could be. But the last update from U.S. Capitol Police was 3:43 p.m., where they said the United States Capitol Police is still continuing to investigate. Please continue to shelter in place.
Thank you, Wes.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
If you just could help her get a shot, if you stand here. And then just
Heads up.
yeah, okay. Zoom.
I'm not in that position where I can just go right to the camera because the cameras are so close to you.
All right, so we continue to follow and wait for an official update from police following the reports of an active shooter. All right, so that street seems to have reopened as well. So that might be Constitution. I'm not totally sure. That's either Constitution or First that you're seeing right there, and that seems to have reopened to traffic. That's a pretty big deal. I'm gonna guess that that's First because I believe that this is down Constitution. Oh, it's frozen. Great, that's lovely. Let me just take a look here. Run that down first. Okay, so the shot unfroze here. This is still a shot from DC.
Both my phones. As far as this lasted 20 years. I didn't know they made them.
I am the tutor.
Yeah, I found it, and then my brother gave it to me in college.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, okay. Tim Barber with the United States Capitol Police. I'm the Communications Director. You're going to be hearing from Chief Thomas Manger with the United States Capitol Police. He's going to give you a quick recap about what happened this afternoon. Then he'll take just a couple questions. Obviously, this is still unfolding, and then we'll head back to the scene.
Thanks. All right, good afternoon. At 2:30 this afternoon, MPD got a call, a 911 call, saying that there was an active shooter in the Hart building on the Senate side of the Capitol. We responded within seconds. We had a group there, a group of officers there. We have been training for active shooters for the last couple of years, and we've been training inside these office buildings. So it was very quickly, we had a group of about 20 officers who started going floor to floor through that building. Within a few minutes more, we got additional calls, but I think these calls were based on some of the staffers and other people that are here saying, hey, I heard about an active shooter, and so they were calling friends, family members who were then calling 911 again. So I think we have really, this all started with one call that Metropolitan Police got at 2:30. Right now we have close to 200 police officers going floor to floor through all three Senate office buildings. We've actually cleared one of the buildings. The other two are nearly clear. We gave an order very quickly for the staff to shelter in place as we were going door to door to check each office building and And once we would get to the office building, we go inside the office building, check all the people there, all the rooms. Some of the people were asking if they could leave, so they were able to leave. But the shelter-in-place order is still in place for those folks that are still there. But we weren't stopping people from leaving. We are stopping people from getting back in the building at this point. Again, we've had the advantage of having trained for this over the last couple of years, and we had a very quick response. But so far, nothing. We found nothing concerning. We've got nobody that actually heard shots, and certainly no victims. As we've gone through the building, no one has said that they've seen anything. The original lookout was for a heavyset Hispanic male wearing body armor, but again, no one's actually. We had no other information, no confirmation of that. All right. So now all three Senate office buildings have been cleared, so I'll take any questions you all may have.
Chief, are you worried about tomorrow at all?
We're prepared for tomorrow. We've been working with our partners from our partner agencies here, MPD, U.S. Park, Secret Service, and Federal Protection Service. We've all been working together in preparation for whenever, if the indictment in fact did happen. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. We've had a couple of phone calls today, so yeah, we're prepared for whatever might happen.
Chief, could you talk about the 911 call originally?
Do you expect that fencing would go up overnight?
No. No.
Chief, can you talk about the 911 call? Did they hear shots in the call or just see this person?
No, the call from MPD did not indicate that they heard anything. It was just someone saying that there was an active shooter, gave a description, and said it was in the Hart building.
Do you believe that there's a motive behind this
Say again?
call? Is there any motive behind this call?
That I don't know, and that I don't know.
Have you made initial contact with anyone who might have made that first 911 call? Has there been any attempts
No,
to follow up?
the original caller to MPD, the call just bounces back from, they've tried a couple of times, and it comes back to a different location every time.
Chief, MPD came out pretty early and said that they didn't find anyone and there were no injuries. What explains them getting out so far ahead of you guys?
I'm not sure that that's the case, but we can look at the time frame. But
yeah, I think
quick.
the original call that we got, or the information, was that it was in the Hart building, and we were the first ones to respond to the Hart building, and that was within seconds of us getting the information.
And how many agencies responded? Is it just you and MPD?
The only one that I know of that were inside the buildings were Capitol Police.
Can we say it's a false alarm at this point?
I think at this point we can say that we've found no confirmation that there was an active shooter, and that this may have been a bogus call.
Any idea how they got in the building?
Who got it?
How, if there was a person in gear or with a gun?
Well, that was one of the issues that, of course, we had that we were aware of, was that we have officers screening people at every entrance that's open, and so it would have been unusual for anybody to be able to get in. I'm not saying it's impossible, but certainly we had to work on the assumption that somebody may have gotten in, but we had no indication from all the entry points that we staffed that anybody came in that was suspicious.
Chief Ranger, you said that there's not going to be fencing tomorrow. Are there going to be any security precautions, bike racks?
We have a security plan in place, yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
No, I will not. So, all right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, so there was the update from Capitol Police, not really informing us too well, and then they finally got there. They cleared all three Senate buildings, and they did not find any evidence that would confirm that there was an active shooter on scene, which is something that we kind of had noticed due to the status of the investigation. Again, the active shooter situation at the United States Senate offices has been confirmed that there was nobody present. They tried calling back the number that called the 911 call, and it kept bouncing back to different numbers, so seems to have been a hoax call. All right, much more on this and the stories of the day are continuing over on 19 News. That's where we have an additional 2.5 hours of nonstop news. For now, I'm Jeff Slauson with 19 News. Have a great day, great night. Much more to come, both on air and online.
19 News, now streaming on Samsung Smart TV. Search for channel 1035.